And 3, 2, 1, slate. Howdy folks, it's Zach, and welcome back to my gaming channel. And today we're talking about Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and taking a look at the two new units, Beryl and Ellesperis, and whether or not these are two units that you want to tackle on the 5-step, 5,000k per step summon banner that comes out tomorrow morning. So it's really late. I've been poring over the pages here to try to get a sense of what these units are and what they can do. And I actually tried tackling this video twice already, and each one went well over an hour because I would go like point by point on the page, taking a look at every single stat. And I really want to try to save you guys some time, okay? I'm a free-to-play player, and I want to value your time. You know, really, let's cut to the chase, the skinny of it. So let's talk about Beryl first. Should you pull on this character? Instead of going through the whole page and every single move, let's just say this. If you don't already have a good magic tanker, then I would say yes. But I would caution and say maybe do just one pull on the step-up banner, because 5,000 Lapis is a lot, guys. You're only guaranteed one at the 25k step. So you're going to gamble whether you do the step-up banner or you do the regular banner and try a 10+1 pull there. The advantage to doing the step-up banner, the first step of that, is you still have an increased rate to get the unit, and you get at least the booby prize, which I think for the first step is the Trust Moogle. That's worth it. So if you're gonna do a 5k pull, at least do it on the step-up banner and have an increased shot at getting it there. Now Beryl, should you go after her? There's some things I really like about this character, but there's two. Until I actually could sit down and play with somebody's version of this, there's two big problems that I see with this character that I'm going to try to explain. And you can feel free to agree with me, you can feel free to disagree with me, but I think it's what hurts this unit. Despite the really great potential for this unit, I think there's two things that really hurt it. The first one is the equipment selection. And this is actually a lot more important than you think. This unit is supposed to be a magical damage dealer and a magic mitigator, a magic tank. And we have a really, really poor selection of weapons here. Just knives, swords, and greatswords, hats, clothes, robes, and accessories. So the bottom row, there's a lot of really good options there for high spirit gear. The weapons, though, virtually none. Also, this character can't equip shields. That's a big problem. Also can't equip staves or rods. Also a big problem. So you're not getting magic from most of the main magic stat sources, and you're not getting some of the spirit from some of the major spirit sources. You're a little stuck with this character. That's one of the reasons why I think Fallen Angle has such a ridiculously high set of stats, is because it's to offset the fact that you're not getting a lot of magic stats through a lot of the other areas. Now, if you look through the toolkit of this character, there's some really good things in here, and I'm going to highlight them right now. First up is the 50% brakes. They're also insanely cheap on MP. So it's just a little bit stronger than the brakes that Lauren puts out at 5-star and Warrior of Light puts out. A little stronger than those, and also deals a little bit of magic damage, and also a little cheaper. I like that. I like all of that. Also, it's got a light and dark resistance for 70%, while also putting damage on their attacks. However, I also see this as a big negative for this character, because usually if you're fighting a boss and it's hitting you with dark damage, typically, if it's enough that where you have to put up a shield, a warding against dark magic, that also means it's probably immune to that. That's been my experience anyway. And to put dark element to your physical attacks, when you're also defending against that same element, that seems to be a recipe for disaster. When I've seen bosses that say have a lot of fire, they deal out a lot of fire damage, and you have to bring a green mage who can buff against fire, or somebody who has the ability for that. Well, almost guaranteed that boss is immune from that same element. Almost guaranteed. And this, to me, the idea that, okay, I'm going to use Painted Black, put up 70% Dark Resist, but now my character's stuck with darkness on their blade, and a good chunk of this character's counters are physical counters. They're not magical counters. So he's going to rush up and hit them with absolutely nothing if the boss is immune to those two elements. So just kind of keeping that in the back of my brain. Now there's a lot of bosses out there that don't use dark and light, but it's just this weird kind of thing. Alright, the other two things that are really great about this character is it can shift into heaven mode and it can shift into hell mode. Heaven mode is all about magic damage. Hell mode is all about the tanking. And when you switch into these two gears, you have access to chain your magic abilities 2 to 3 times depending on which way you activated heaven mode, and that's pretty awesome. The activations for hell mode basically kill your character and bring your character back, and in the middle of that, benefits your party somehow. So in one of the hell modes, you basically, and this is nice, you steal the attack, magic, spirit, defense breaks off of your party and all of their elemental debuffs off of them as well. Now note, you're stealing them. You're not dispelling them. Very cool. That means you're probably leaving behind all of their buffs. You're losing yours, but they all get to keep theirs. So if you just spend a bunch of time buffing up your party against whatever, you can steal all the negative status effects with this character, and I kind of dig that. That's actually pretty cool. Most of the time we just have a dispel, and that erases your buffs as well. The other Born to Die Heaven mode, this is also a really cool trick. So light magic damage times 12, decrease light resistance by 100% on your enemy, and it's a 70% defensive spirit break. Now, I don't care how much damage this unit can do, but you pair this guy up with Orlandu or people who have light elemental chaining. I'm thinking right now that would be people like Lauren with Aerial Ray and Lunera. They both just got their 7-star awakenings. Put this character in with them, and woo, that is nice. That is very nice. 100% decrease in light resistance. Very nice. The only problem with that move is that it's not available till turn 6. That's the thing that's keeping it from being really nice and overpowering. Now, what you do have available at turn 1, these, by the way, are the 7-star abilities. You do have a mitigate damage for 90%, and you do have a remove buffs. This is basically this version of Heaven mode right here. Basically, it's just like the other one, except it buffs up your magic, fills up your, increases your capacity for limit break, gem retrieval, and also lets you cast things 3 times. So that's pretty cool. Either one of these two are just getting you ready for the roll. If you're using this one for Hell mode, you're getting ready to tank. I would actually save that as just a really good cooldown for before a boss does threshold attack. And then this guy here, that's a good one for the start of battle if you're just kicking straight up into magic damage dealing mode. Now, okay, that's some of the highlights. The other highlight I would say is this guy here, Heart of a Tonberry, 100% counter chance. And when you do it, you're increasing HP by 30% and defensive spirit by 20%. That's nice. You get hit. Okay, I buff myself and I counter immediately with it. That's pretty cool. So I feel like this is a really good arena unit so far. Also, the limit burst on here, if you fully max it up, can do an attack magic spirit break for 74% for 3 turns and deal some magic damage at the same time. Also pretty nice. So what are the big weaknesses of this character? 1, poor equipment selection. 2, you're fighting against yourself here. You either come in and you build yourself up for a lot of spirit tanking, but then that means you're not doing a whole lot of magic damage, or you come in built up for a lot of magic damage, but you're not really getting a lot of spirit and mitigation. And that's really the big problem with this character. No shields, no heavy armor, no materials to buff either of those 2 things up. You do get a lot of buffs to magic and spirit in the toolkit for this character, but I think because the equipment selection is so poor, I don't think you're gonna, again, one of the math wizards like me, Lord, is gonna let you know the nitty gritty about this. But from what it looks like here, all those magic buffs and all those spirit buffs really just more or less bring you to the normal place of a magic damage dealer or a tank, depending on what your gear looks like. So if you come in and you have a lot of spirit gear, then the magic buffs will get you to about the same place as a low-level magic user. That's what it just looks like here, because the stats you're bringing in on your gear would be really low, and so even if you have 1,000% buffs, if your base stat's really low, it's not really going to go all that high. Again, same thing with the spirit in the reverse. So ideally, I think the best gear for this character is going to have HP, magic, and spirit. So anything like his own TMR or her own TMR, I'm not sure if Beryl's a guy or a girl, would probably work best. Okay, so that's Beryl in a nutshell. Do I think you should draw for this character? Only if you don't already have a good magic tanker. Otherwise, I think all of these features are pretty cool, but not necessarily necessary. And I think you're going to be fighting with this character on what job you want them to do, and even though they bring in a couple extra things of a different job, I think you have to pick and choose, what do I want this character to be right now? Do I want them to be a magic damage dealing support chainer to these other units, or do I want it to be the magic damage tank? And if I want to do that full job, then I have to focus everything to get the stats right on this character, because the gear selection is so limited. All right, that's my opinion on Beryl. And let's see how we're looking on time. 11:26. Oh yes, we shaved off a good like 20 minutes off of that. All right, let's take a look at Ellesperis then. Very cool. I'm feeling a lot better. Ellesperis has a pretty cool looking sprite. She's a hemomancer, which is another way of saying vampire, I think. And, Roll, this one's a little simpler, just as physical attacker, and in this respect, she has a lot of goods that are good for physical attackers. She's got a really good TMR, which is, actually I'm hovering over Vampirism right now. Onimaru is just, it's a straight up, it's a good katana. Attack 140, spirit plus 30, it's a good katana. And then Vampirism is a really nice STMR. Now, the problem though is, do I really want to have 4 of this chick flying around in my inventory? And this is kind of the problem. This starts leading us right to why I don't like this character. I love the STMR. 80% if you plus 80% on attack if you have clothes and a katana on, and 25% demon killer and human killer. Very nice STMR. Very, very, very nice. If you ended up somehow with 4 of these units, I would definitely say go for that. Very much so. You can equip that to a lot of different DPS characters and get a lot of benefit out of that. Just very, very nice. As far as the attacker themselves, no native elemental resistances, no native status element resistances. There's one accessory you can craft for her, which gives attack plus 20% when equipped with the katana. That one's actually worth getting. Unlike Beryl's, where I just kind of felt like, nah, defense 15%, HP 15%, probably good considering how poor her gear selection is. But this one's very good. 20% extra damage if she's dealing damage with the katana. Now, of course, if you have something like the Ring of the Lucii, I would think that's actually better. Or if you have something, a straight stat stick that is, has just a straight double digits like Desh's Earring, which has, I think, like plus 45 attack, I think that would actually be better. But, if you don't have any of those, then this is a good one, and this one's going to come to you virtually for free. You're going to be able to craft this one. Let's take a look at the toolkit. Now, what do I like about the character? I'm going to highlight that. Right now, this character, this is the main thing I think that this character's got going for it. Just skip everything else. Oop, and let me highlight ambidexterity too, because that's also really good. At 6 stars, you can use any of Ellesperis' skills twice in one turn. The negative part of that is that you get ambidexterity, but it only affects these moves unless you become a 7-star. So let's just keep that in mind. Oh no, excuse me. You also you do get these 2 chaining moves as well, ambidexterity. So that's very good. Hio got that at 6-star, and it's one of the things that makes Hio just a superb DPS. And even a 6-star Hio can achieve massive amounts of attack power in his stats. So that's really good. The other thing I really like about this character is that they have 2 different chaining families they can chain with. Divine Ruination and Octaslash. Graviton Cannon, I don't actually know whose that is and who that chains with, but that technically makes it, 3 different families that they can chain with. Very, very, very cool. The thing well, let's keep going with the good stuff. This one's a really great one. Chance to ignore fatal damage 80% when HP is above 10%. Pluses and minuses. Here's why. This character does a lot of HP damage to itself. So you're going to be low on health. That's kind of one of the points of this character. There's also, if you look in here, buffs for when you get down to lower levels of health. So for 2 turns when HP drops below 41%, you get 150% attack buff, 150% defense buff. It's just sort of accepted that this character is going to be low and run on gas. That also means, though, you have fragile DPS syndrome. And that's one of the reasons why Death's Door is actually kind of nice, but it's only above 10%. Anyway, the point is, I have never been a fan of characters that hurt themselves in order to hurt the bad guys. I don't really like that sort of playstyle. I like guys who can live, because the longer they can live, the longer they can probably DPS. I'm an old school raider when it comes to that. The high risk, high reward playstyle of blood hunters and hemomancers, all this vampirism crap, Dark Knight crap, I'm not a fan. I'm just not. I'd rather just have a character who is just strong. So looking at this character, there's some moves in here that don't require her to sacrifice health, but they're not her stronger moves. Here, Human Splitter is definitely, what I would consider I would make my bread and butter. If I had this character, this is what I would do. I would make, Human Splitter and Demon Splitter my 2 bread and butter moves. HP sacrifice is 20%. Hopefully 20% is still, manageable. But it's not something, don't forget, if you're dual wielding these, then you're losing 40% of your overall health. That's a lot. So you have to have some healer on your party, some kind of passive regen for your health. You have to have, somebody like CG Nickel, who has a regen move with his buffs that he can put out. But you got to have something, because this is just too much. Or you pair this character up with somebody like a bard, where health is just always coming out. Okay. Overall, and then let's also take a look really quick. This character, Desire Incarnate, which is basically 100% charm resistance. Very nice. And also, if you use Vampire Mastery, which is what you get when they're TMRs equipped, they can triple cast some of their moves. But don't forget, you're still playing with fire. If you triple cast something like Demon Splitter here, you are giving up 60% of your HP. Alright, so just keep that in mind. Sure, this character can do a lot of damage, but they're also killing themselves very quickly. Not slowly, but quickly. This is one of the things about these 2 units, Beryl and Ellesperis, is that on the surface, there's some things where you just go, I can't believe this guy could do this. But then when you mix in what the negatives are, you're like, oh, is that really worth it? I'm constantly going to have to manage this character's health. Yes, they have. This character also has very low, equipment selection. It'll be enough to get the job done, though. Those are good DPS weapons and such. Same thing with Beryl. Low equipment selection. Is basically, is the juice worth the squeeze? I'm going to say this, guys. To be perfectly brutally honest, I don't think really either one of these 2 characters is a must-have. And I'll tell you why. There's really good magic tanks in the game already that if you have unit of choice tickets, I would just grab them. And that's 7-star Awakened Rain, and even 6-star Awakened Rain is pretty damn good. And I've never had any trouble with Mystea or Schilt. So am I going out of my way for somebody like Beryl? Not unless you don't have a magic tank already. With Ellesperis has triple cast. Very nice. However, I would recommend, more or less, probably just grabbing Hio instead. The reason being is that Hio has a really, really good toolkit. He doesn't hurt himself to use it. He also has 2 different types of elemental debuffs, which this character, as far as I can tell, does not. So this character is depending upon another person in the party to provide an elemental debuff, and the more damage you do with this character, the higher the likelihood this character is going to die. And I just don't like that, man. Honest to God, having to micromanage re-resing a character all the time, I just feel eats up turns I don't want to eat up. So does this character have some sick potential? Yes. Where do I see this unit fitting in? I would say I think this unit really could fit in pretty well in a knockout team, a one-turn knockout team. I could see this unit having a really good place there, because as their health goes down, the buff goes up. So you set up something for three shots in a row, your health is dropping down to 60%, and automatically more buffs kick in. That's if you don't already have a buffer going. Plus, in a one-turn knockout scenario, you're only looking to have big damage right on the front end. You're not looking to go 6 rounds, with this bad guy. So I would say this: if you don't already have a really, really good magic tank or a really, really good damager, I would go ahead and throw out 5,000 Lapis on a 10k pull and see if you can snag either one of these guys. Or if you're sitting on some tickets you don't mind burning through, I would say if you had 100 tickets, I would say spend 10. And maybe if you had 10 4-star tickets, I would say spend 2. Just to see if you can get something of these 2 characters, because they're not bad, they're not great. They are limited time, though, from what I understand. I don't think these go into the pool forever. If that's the case, then Vampirism does get a lot nicer. But to get, oh my God, just thinking about getting 4 of them, of either one of them, is insanity. It's a split banner, so when you get to the end, you might not get the one you like. I can say safely that I spent up over 50k Lapis to try to get what was her name, Lila, when she came out. Did not get her, and I did get Sephiroth, and that actually ends up being the better investment anyway. But I spent a ton and didn't get Lila to drop once. You might be in the same situation here. You might really want Beryl. You might end up getting 2 Ellespirises. You might want Ellesperis. You might get 2 Beryls. So with that in mind, I always say keep the gambling to a minimum. Neither one has something that I feel is so game-changing that you have to have them. Heal was a game changer. He was just a brand new breed of DPS. And unlike Ellesperis, he doesn't come with any of the serious drawbacks. He brings in 2 extra elemental debuffs, and he chains with a lot of different partners. Ellesperis has the potential to out DPS him, but it comes at this really, really great cost. If you do a lot of damage on the first round, and let's say the boss hits everybody in your party, she's probably dead. She just is. If you went all 3, she's probably down to 40% life left, and she's about to get nixed. And then you're also having to refill up her gas tank to keep her alive throughout the fight. So, I don't really see the juice being worth the squeeze there. No question, I'm not saying Vampirism isn't a good STMR, but I think the cost to try to get 4 of these units to get it is too much. It's just too much. Fallen Angle, same idea. It's perfect for this character. It's a nice STMR, but for the way Beryl is built, I just don't think, because of her equipment choices, no, I just don't see it. I think you'll have better luck with other tanks. Anyway, guys, that's my opinion. You can feel free to agree, disagree, put it in the comment area below. Keep an eye out. I'm sure Meme Lord's going to put out some really good in-depth reviews, but this was my high-level version. This is my 30,000 foot, I'm a free-to-play player looking down at this. What do I think about these characters? And so far, I think they're both really good. Both are really have some potential in there for some cool stuff, but I think there's other units out there that already exist in the game or that we know are coming. Guys like Jekt, who has triple cast like Ellesperis does, but without all the negatives. He's kind of like taking all the good stuff from Ellesperis and all the really good stuff from 7-star Tidus and mashing them together. And he comes out at the same time Orin does, and Orin is another guy who has some really sick moves. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I just feel like there's stronger characters out there. I don't think you have to spend all this money on these two characters when there's other characters out there who do the same job they do. Anyway, guys, that's my opinion. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. That lets me know that you want to see more like this, and we will see you next time.